please give a warm welcome to the producers of Missing, Natalie Qasabian, Sev Ohanian, and Aneesh Chaganty. Congratulations. We're gonna have you guys in the car seats. Next up, the writing and directing duo behind the film. Please say hello to Will Merrick and Nick Johnson. And finally, the star of Missing, we have Storm Reid here tonight. My God, this movie is a feat. I don't know how you all pull this off, but we're gonna try to at least get some of the details right now. I'm gonna go to my producing trio first to get us started. Was there ever a point, Aneesh, where you considered directing the Searching follow-up yourself? And ultimately, what was it about these two right here that made you all feel like, yes, we can hand the reins over to also these two here, edited Searching, so they know what they're doing, but what did you see in their work on that film that gave you the confidence that they could do it?
I mean, I've known these guys since I was in college. Will Merrick edited some of my earliest work that started my career, and we've been working together since then. They edited Searching, they edited Run, and when you've seen Searching, you don't just edit this movie. You are one of the core filmmakers of this movie, and they learned everything. And it was no question. After you make a movie like this, you never want to touch computer screens again. Which for me, I was like, never doing that again. These guys know everything and more, so we went to them easily.
Happy for you two now. So you have collaborated before. I'm sure on previous projects you've developed some sort of shorthand. But when you jump into a film like this where you're also the writers and directors, I imagine that shorthand has to evolve. So what is the biggest difference in that respect?
And I don't know. It's really hard to describe the difference in what we do. Natalie, you said in one of those interviews it's like a left brain, right brain thing, where like we both do everything but in a different way. I don't know.
Yeah, I think with Will and I, it was a very natural progression of working together. I think one of the cool things about our team, the five of us, is that it's been such a collaborative team from Searching through Run and this, that it just felt like a natural, like we all have different roles, but we're all still there, still the same five people making a movie, you know.
It's a really special thing to have such a large group of people who are key collaborators in a production like that. I keep that like you three, you two, then you one. We're gonna get to you in a second. But when you're working like a team of five here, can any of you speak to like how you collaborate efficiently and also make sure you're all on the same page, but also giving the production your own personal insight that makes you a particularly good team together?
The real answer, Google Docs and text chains.
The thing that I think makes this team work, and I'd like to think it does work, and you guys may be the judge of that having watched the movie, is that everyone is fighting for the same thing, and that's the movie. At all times, you know, ego aside, what's the best thing for this movie? And yes, sometimes it turns into like very passionate debates and arguments, but at the end of the day, as long as we're making the right movie that tells the emotion and the cinematic journey we want to take the audience on, we know that's the right answer.
That's why I keep coming back for more of your movies. All right, Storm, you're up. So a movie like this obviously has to be shot in a very unique way. When you first sign on for the role, what are some of your biggest burning questions for these five right here in terms of what it takes to make a screen thriller like this?
Yeah, I mean, I read the Missing script and I was totally engaged. I was at the edge of my seat the entire time. When I thought I knew what was going on, I figured out I had nothing, and I knew nothing that was happening. But I don't think I asked the question, but repeatedly while we were in pre-production, I was just like, how are we gonna do this? Like, how are we gonna pull this off? But I was so comfortable on set. They made me feel so comfortable, and so it was a easy process. And yes, it was challenging because I had to hold the camera and hold the computers, and it wasn't like a film that I have ever filmed before. But I think once I got the hang of it and we got a flow, and Will and Nick, we of course created a bond, and we worked really well together. I think it turned out well.
Just tell her really quickly, how good is this movie and how good is she in it?
You don't have to tell me. Thank you.
I said it to you like 5 times earlier today. I'm going to keep making it happen tonight.
Thank you.
Given the challenge of making a movie like this, going into it, what particular part of the process did you think was going to be the toughest thing for you? And then ultimately, was that indeed the toughest, or did something else catch you by surprise?
Absolutely. I knew going in, because I had watched Searching when the opportunity came about, and I knew that it was going to be really good, but the technical aspect was going to be challenging, and everything is shot through a computer, shot through a Ring camera. Like, it's not traditional. So I knew that it was going to be a challenge, and it was a challenge. But like I said, once we figured it out, once we got the hang of it, once I figured out how to hold the computer correctly, and the eye lines was a big thing. Once I figured out the eye lines, I think it was seamless.
Eye lines are hard enough on a more traditional film. I was thinking about it the entire time I'm watching this. I can't even imagine how you pulled it all off. Getting into the production process here, I'm going to go back to my producing trio down there. For all of you, what is something that worked really well on Searching that you knew you had to replicate in Missing, but then also what's a part of that production process that you thought could be improved and needs some refining, and you had the opportunity to do it here?
Yeah, one thing we did on Searching was before we actually got to set and before we started even prepping the film, we did a whole previs of the movie. So we had like a rough assembly using, on Searching, it was Aneesh. On this one, it was Will and Nick acting out like all the roles. And basically that gave us like a roadmap. So when we got to set, we had this thing that we were able to pull up as a reference for the actors if they needed it, or for the department heads, to basically say, like, this is what your portion that we're filming today, the live action, this is how it's going to fit into the full frame. So I think that was really helpful. Not so helpful, I don't know, or what could we do better? You guys have anything? We're perfect.
I feel like we approached Easter eggs totally differently.
Yes.
You know, like with the first film, one of the things we were so excited about was how much excitement there was about all the little words in the back of like on Google Chrome, or when you type in a search bar, all the little drop downs. And from the beginning, we were like, okay, Easter eggs is a huge element of this movie. Let's start. And Sev wrote a whole storyline on his own that is fully in the film, like a kind of maybe a sequel to the Alien storyline that was in the first, or in Searching. And these guys did a massive amount. Yeah.
Sev, do you want to talk about the aliens?
Yeah, I mean, okay, remind me, guys, who here has seen Searching? Okay. Wow. Did you guys know what the background? So Searching is about a father searching for his missing daughter. In the background of that movie, on the sides of the screen with the comments and the news articles and the tweets, there's events happening. And that event is an alien invasion. Did anyone know this? I'm curious. Hey. So if you guys ever get a chance to rewatch this movie, which you will on January 20th, in theaters everywhere, watch closely, because you might find out what happened with those aliens. I'll just say that.
I like that tease. Will and Nick, I have to go back to you, because I want to follow up on the previs thing. Who played who when you were acting it out for the previs? What scene was the most fun?
I sincerely hope that never sees the light of day.
I've already given it to home.
We were cooped up in our houses at the peak of the pandemic. It was just cabin fever, and acting out every role. Will went up on his roof to act out the hobby scene.
Went up on the roof.
Totally unnecessary, by the way. Totally unnecessary.
You're right, I didn't need to do that.
I have a serious question about doing that, because it's not often that the writer and directors, get the opportunity to act out their own script.
The
so
actors
is there
did not see
anything
this.
is there anything about the script that you discovered, that you changed because of having done that?
Absolutely. I think the previs was in some ways the final rewrite of the script. We were assembling the movie, watching the movie back, and realizing, oh, that line or that, that scene isn't actually working the way we thought it was. So it was a perfect way to refine the story and the script before we actually sent it out and embarrassed ourselves in front of actors.
How about when it comes to your editing process? So I know you two developed a way to do all of this when you worked on Searching, but here you passed those reins over to Ariel and Austin, and I had read somewhere that they kind of added and evolved that system. So where did you guys start, and how did they change it?
Yeah, they took over and made the finishing process was about the same, but the editing process got quite a bit faster because of some changes they made that are probably too technical to be worth going into. But we used to have to count frames in an edit. We would say, I'm going to shorten this shot by 4 frames, and then we would go into a whole other sequence and change that by 4 frames. And they managed to solve that problem, so we didn't need to do that anymore, which really helped.
Some very
As
good
well as
people
just
to
being
team
great
up with
editors.
there. How long was this script, and then how long did the script wind up being if you add in all of the stuff that we see on screen in addition to the main action?
I think the script itself was longer than its runtime. Do you guys remember? It was like 129 pages or something.
128.
Yeah, it was enough to be like, this movie's, it might be a little long. But when we assembled it, it played a lot faster. If we were to include all the copy and everything that we wrote in the background, it'd be like a 500-page epic.
That'd be a good
Yeah.
coffee
Encyclopedia.
table little thing. Yeah.
And then ultimately, how much footage do you, because you're recording multiple cameras a whole bunch of different ways, how much footage are you in that edit room with?
Probably about on par or less than a normal movie would have. The footage was not that overwhelming. The graphics, on the other hand, insane.
I can imagine, because we get all of those details, and that's why we have alien invasion subplots in a movie like this. Storm, for you, picking up that script for the very first time, what was it like reading that? Are you fully able to picture what this movie could be, or were you given any kind of supplemental material to help really paint a clear picture for you?
No, I think the script did an amazing job of painting the picture that they wanted to create, and I clearly saw their vision when I was reading it. And not only, like I said before, I was on the edge of my seat and I was just like so excited to be reading it, and all the twists and turns were really intriguing, but I try to be as intentional as possible when choosing projects. And I felt that even though this was a thriller and yes, a movie that is made for the big screen, it has intention, it has purpose, and I think missing at its core is a movie about family, about love, about unconditional love, about making sacrifices, about growing, about self-discovery. There's so many things and so many themes that I think were touched on, whether they were in a preachy way or not. I don't think the movie's preachy at all. But like whether the messages that I resonated with were preachy or not, I felt like it had a purpose. It's not just a film that is entertaining. It's entertaining and purposeful.
I think it does, and it captures some of what we were talking about this earlier. I love the idea of a movie being a slice of someone's life, but still being able to feel like they lived a full life and have a past that's informing their present during something like this. And you very much accomplished that. Speaking of that, just for you personally, you're working with a great script here, but what kind of backstory details or like the space between the lines on the page do you have to fill in for yourself that we don't necessarily see or hear about in the film, but we can feel informing your performance and making June whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think it for me, with any character that I embody, I think it is trying to step into my character's shoes and become them and really feel how they would feel in their given circumstance. But, I'm also a young human that has emotions, that has feelings, and I try not to neglect those feelings while I'm acting, because I think my emotions and my feelings and my thoughts are beneficial and can inform my character. So I think it's more so of a intersection of like, yes, I am June, but Storm would feel a type of way in this situation too. So how do you marry those two for it to be a good marriage, and it could be grounded and it could be as beautiful as possible. So it was a little challenging because, again, it's those technical aspects of like, oh yeah, the stakes are heightened, my emotions are heightened, but you still got to look look up because there's a notification. That's a little challenging. That's a little challenging, but I think with this role, it wasn't hard to embody June at all.
The three of you could probably speak to this together, but what is the director-actor collaboration like? How are you giving notes? What is it like receiving those notes, but focusing on the emotional beats of the performance? How does all that work?
These guys are so fun to work with. Like the biggest balls of energy. I think it was fun. I mean, I didn't have any problem working with them.
Are you kidding me? I mean, good directing to me is good casting, and when you cast an actress like Storm, it makes our jobs much easier. Like you don't have to communicate as much. It's just little tweaks. Sometimes it came down to just technical things. Like that was amazing, but just remember to look up there. Yeah, next time. Yeah.
What are you seeing? Can you tell us in some instances when you could see like I guess a close to finished previs versus maybe any other kind of thing that they could substitute for the visual references on set?
Once we had the previs done, we did consult it, but we didn't really need to look at it that much. We mainly just needed to know like what side of the screen is she on. So there wasn't really too much of that from a technical perspective. Really, a lot of our job was just to see the movie in our head and then just make sure that you were able to bring Storm like the authenticity of it, and just make sure that whatever you were doing was going to fit into that picture.
Right. Yeah. And Storm, when you're looking at a device, what are you seeing?
Oh, I was seeing a lot of nothing. The computer that we used to shoot most of the scenes, it was like a blank screen with like boxes at each corner, or like folders at each like folders at like in each corner, so I would know where to look. Or I mean, sometimes I'd get fortunate and it would be a real FaceTime call, and that was really cool. But most of the time, it was just really working with these guys and the team to let me know if I was doing it right, what I needed to do more in a technical aspect, because I didn't really get to share scenes with a lot of people.
Is there any freedom, like if Storm feels the urge to do something in a different way on set, for you to change in post-production where things are positioned on a screen?
Yeah, certainly there was freedom, and occasionally, just by chance, if she happened to look over here, we'd be like, oh, that's perfect, I'll use that a little bit. So yeah, I think making a movie like this gives you a lot of latitude in post to change it up a little bit, but for the most part, going into it, we knew exactly where she was clicking by that point, so it was really a matter of checking that list and being like, we got it, move on.
Usually in those instances, it's not like my character would look over here. It's like, why is my character even at a computer right now?
Like, why is she right here?
I did have a question about a specific visual technique you guys use, the punch-in shots. How do you do something like that to up the tension, but without it ever feeling like you're cheating the screen life concept, where that, like, because that's not how it would look to someone looking at a screen, like taking them out of that feeling? Because I think you do that really well here. You use it very effectively without ruining the illusion.
Right. I mean, I would argue that when you look at a screen, what that feels like to you is a punch-in. You're not ever taking in the totality of your whole screen. You know, all we're doing is up-resing it a little bit.
I feel like this is how my brain has morphed over the years, where I am glued to a screen that I don't realize that's happening, but that is definitely how I operate now. I want to back up a little bit and go back to the very beginnings of the story, and I'll give this one Aneesh and Sev, because you guys have story by credits here. What was idea number one? Was it strictly, we need to make another Searching? Was it the kidnap plot? Was it a specific character? What was the thing that started it all?
The truth is, when we released Searching a couple years back, we would often get asked, will you guys ever make a sequel? And we always knew for sure, no, we will never make a sequel. So the honest to God answer is, I got a call from Sony a couple months after the movie came out, and they were like, you guys ready? Let's do Searching 2. John Cho goes after someone else who's missing. And we were like, maybe. But I was hesitant. I think, you know, for us, it's like we really were proud of that film, and the whole team here had done such a great job on that. I remember I hung up the phone, and I happened to be working right next to a good friend of mine who's a director himself, a guy named Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther. And
we can clap for Ryan Coogler.
Yeah. And this is a 100% true story. I remember I hung up the phone, and he kind of saw me laughing, and he was like, what was that? I was like, dude, Sony wants to make a sequel to Searching. And his reaction was like, dude, hell yeah. And I was like, I don't know, man. I got to talk to Nat. I got to talk to Aneesh. And I was like, maybe we don't do this. And I remember he looked at me like right in my eyes and he was like, if anyone can make a sequel to that film, it's you guys. So he was like, y'all have to do it. I called these guys. They had the same initial reaction as me. Then we were like, who's going to direct it? And then we realized we have the greatest directors right there. And then we started ideating on like, what could the sequel be?
Yeah, we went through a lot of ideas, but we went back to the first one. You know, like Sev came and we pitched this early version of Missing, which was essentially a reversal of Searching. But like we explored 1,000 different ideas, like serial killer, like just all these random approaches, and realized like, wow, just simply switching the protagonists keeps what's the heart of this movie, but it allows a totally different perspective of the internet. You know, like by just making the character a teenager, we've now changed the tone and the style of the film. Like these guys have brought such, we call it, in the editing room early on, there was basically like, if Searching was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, what we're trying to do, or what these guys are trying to do, is do Into the Spider-Verse. You know, like make it fresher, funner, more active, more thrilling. So yeah, that was a good idea, and then we landed back on that, and then we just kept developing it and developing it and developing it, and a few months later we turned it into the studio, and these guys got started writing.
But the real story is we just wanted a free vacation to Colombia.
Yeah.
So we just wrote the Cartagena part. I mean, it was a really lovely time. I'm not going to lie.
Great lesson. Next time, anytime we write something, it'll start exterior like London, and then we'll go there.
I love that Spider-Verse comp. I'm not going to forget that. Jumping way ahead with the writing process, Will and Nick. So that's where it all started. Do you remember the last story idea you came up with that really felt like it brought everything together?
So when Aneesh and I were writing the story, we wrote ourselves into a corner, and then she has this big realization, this big eureka moment. That was those guys. And I remember when they pitched that to us, we were like,
it's so good. It was like, wow, let's make a whole movie around that.
exactly.
Getting into some specifics here, non-spoiler ones. Storm, I'll go to you first. I'm obsessed with detailed production design, and I love looking around the frames at what's on the computer screens, but I was also busy looking at the background of June's room. Is there anything that's back there that you think really informs who she is that you hope people take notice of?
Oh, wow. I think so. I mean, I think June is just so cool as a character, and I think she's just really cool. And her room was really cool, and like just like the different like gadgets and like the colors, and I think her room really informed her personality. And then, you know, even the t-shirt that she wears, like it's everything is intentional, everything is sentimental, everything is like down to the small details. I felt it on set, and I appreciated all the details that the team put in.
You know,
There
a
was a
detail
massive war over what color purple to make the walls of your room.
Oh, yeah,
You didn't know
they
that
were
till
battling
now.
about it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm curious. Like, why was the color so important? Like character or visually?
A little bit of both. We were just like, do we want to flood everything out on a room with too dark of a purple? We landed on a good one.
But I think it goes hand in hand with the fact that we wanted this to feel more youthful, and so we wanted to inject some color into it and give it some, you know, like my room. I live in like color. I have all these flux bulbs in my room. You know, that's how I live. So we wanted to make something that felt real to how like teenagers live these
Thanks
days.
for bringing that one back around.
You will ask you guys all at the end of this on a poll how the purple was. So
Most important part of the film. We've already talked about the alien invasion subplot, Easter egg here. We don't want to spoil anything, but is there anything else that you hid in this movie that you are especially proud of that you hope that people find when they watch this movie over and over and over?
Oh yeah, but you'll never find it.
Can you give
I mean,
anyone a hint on where to look?
I love, there's one that I think credit goes to Sev for this one, but in Searching, David Kim, John Cho's character, if you guys are paying attention, like on the sidelines, he's been dating this woman named Hannah Couch. And at the beginning of the movie, he's kind of answering her, but by the end, he's obviously looking for his daughter, so his priorities have shifted, and he's like kind of ghosting her. Hannah Couch may or may not be going after someone in this film as well.
Pay attention in the dating montage.
There are a lot of really great searching references as well. One of my favorites that Will added, I think it was you, was the App Insure. David Kim's company, App Insure. there's a little newsletter in there, and at some point, a character in Searching asks if the integrations report on the Bellington system is complete, and the email, in fact, confirms that the integration, that the Bellington system is fully integrated.
Bellington system. Like,
We worked on we edit these movies and work on them for so long. We have to find ways to entertain
Yeah, it's
ourselves.
pure cabin fever.
Ultimately, it adds to the experience and entertains us all too, so that's good. Here's the most important question I could possibly ask. Who does Quinn the cat belong to?
Try again.
My watch just judged my question. I feel like Spider-Verse is happening to me right now. Who is the owner of Quinn the cat?
That's Ariel Zakowski, our editor's cat, or her sister's cat.
on the phone, it's her sister's cat.
I think it's her sister's cat.
And then the cat that appears in the movie was actually a variety of cats.
Many
selected
cats.
based on their mood at the moment.
Those cats were catty.
These cats just make me happy. Another thing that I always find interesting to talk about is selecting the title for your movie, because you could have gone searching too. You could have used a word that has the same meaning as missing, but something different. Why this particular title for this film?
Glass Onion and Knives Out mystery was taken. So we just, I mean, you guys go for it now.
We spent.
We spent a ton of time on this, and one of the things we debated was like, how do we bring in the audience that's seen Searching, but we also don't want to alienate people that may have not seen the first film, because this does stand on its own. So there was a lot of debates of like, do we do something and then a Searching story to Sev's
Or
joke
like
earlier.
Cloverfield, which would do like 10 Cloverfield Lane, like could we use the word searching in a sentence? Like
Integrate it.
Searching abroad was an early idea that we threw out because the tone of those two words wasn't right, but like something like that where it sounds like its own title, but it's actually searching another title. But ultimately we ended up with Missing.
What we threw out a lot of ideas, and at one point we were all campaigning for a different
Our
title.
own ideas. It was
We all had
war.
our
And
own.
we were like
Yeah.
hating on each other.
yeah,
Actually, hold on. We have a real audience here.
Take a poll.
These mofos, literally. I had I love Missing as a title. Don't get me wrong, but I had the greatest title on the
I
planet.
can't wait for this
And
one.
no,
like
dude.
number one,
Do
number
it,
two.
do it.
These people had no faith. Can you guys, for once and for all, settle 3 years of our text debates? Okay, if this title of this film was just, I'm gonna spell it, SRCH, search.
Raise your hand if you like that at all.
Crickets.
All right, man, I'm out of here.
Oh yeah, right there. we got
All
a
right.
fan over there.
Missing it is.
Fans, yeah.
And
Congrats, you sold 2 tickets.
No, we every single conversation, dude, amazing.
man, it would have been so youthful.
We like had so many conversations that would end with like, okay, in 1 hour we're ending with a title, guys. Like we're not leaving this meeting without a title. We had that meeting week after week after week after week after week, and eventually we're just like, what do we do? And when the title Missing came up, it was just like, that makes total sense.
It came from Sony.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah.
Well, someone pitched it, I think, in our team. I don't think we even remember, because we were like,
and we were like, eh.
We were like, maybe. And then as time went on, it just kept like making it into this meeting that Aneesh is alluding to, and it just never got eliminated. So we were like, that's the
I
title.
became useless pretty quickly because I could only think of titles that rhymed with Searching too, and my brain was just broken.
I mean this in all seriousness. Do you have a thing with one-word film titles? I find them to be very effective and like powerful to just say one word, but like we have Searching, Run, and now Missing.
And our next
We
one.
have a few more.
Yeah, a few more single word titles. I guess we love them. It's like now it's a thing. One word. I think we're coming from like, I feel like with all of our styles of writing, it's just like eliminating all the fat. I feel like a lot of the time in what we write, and it's so like purposeful, and I feel like you can do that with one word, and we definitely all agree.
Find that one word is such like an easy, quick way to raise intrigue too. And I feel like these 3 words in particular are very effective with that. Before I toss it over to the audience, for the 5 of you at this point, 2 films in with this type of storytelling format, do you have a screen thriller, like white whale of sorts, something that you really want to be able to do with this storytelling format that you haven't been able to because, I don't know, the technology doesn't exist or you haven't quite cracked it that you hope to do on a future film?
no like general idea of like a story, but all the time like things happen, I think just in our daily lives, and we'll literally write it down, be like, if we do a third one, like this has to go in. So I think we go through our lives now thinking about good screen beats because it's been such a commitment.
I got one, but we need the rights from Warner Brothers if anyone knows anyone there. Imagine an entire movie that's set on a computer, but not just any computer. The Bat computer. Like, just think about it, man. Like you're watching Batman. He's getting hacked by the Riddler and blah blah blah. Like, yeah, maybe one day.
I mean, nobody who works on a movie like this comes out being like, yeah, let's do it again. You know, like, it's so much work that I think there's a hibernation required from all of us before we start being like, yeah, another screen thriller, let's go do it. But it's just so, these guys were up till 3 a.m. last night finishing the movie, you know, and it's like, it's a very, very intense process. But one day, I'm sure, because the internet is always changing and the internet's a very big place, like, there'll be more stories to tell in like 4 years when they've all slept.
All the hours seriously paid off. I find this to be one of the most exciting emerging storytelling formats out there right now. So I can't wait to see more in this particular format, even if it takes you the rest of your lives.
Thank you.
Anybody out there have questions? First hand that shot up. I'll repeat that question quickly just so we get it for the camera and your question gets heard, but we're talking about what's difficult with green screen and if you get camera operator credit because of how much of that you do in this film.
Thank you for your question. I think this was the most challenging thing that I have ever done as an actress. And I have done green screen before, and it is hard because you're essentially doing the same thing. You are having to imagine the unimaginable sometimes, but I think there is such a physicality that you have with green screen most times. It's usually stunts and you're able to move around. We were in like a real confined space because we are having to fit in a screen. So I think, acting with the computer was a little bit more challenging. And I don't know if I got a DP credit. Maybe I should. Just kidding.
All right there.
First part is, did I see a picture of Michael Tucker from Lessons from the Screenplay? And if that's the case, like I'm wondering, like how the whole online like YouTube movie discourse has like informed you as filmmaker, like in the forms of movie analysis and movie essays. Like how does that educate you as filmmaker?
Absolutely, yeah. Love that question. And great eye. They actually came to an early cut of the movie. They gave us notes on the previs. So we love them, and they did a great Lessons from the Screenplay on Searching, right? Yeah. We all consume that stuff, TV tropes and video essays on film, like that. We love that stuff. So it was a fun opportunity to give those things a shout out. Anything you guys want to add, Sev or Aneesh?
No, that was it.
Well, I think we're going to be able to get to a lot. So right there in the black shirt in the middle first.
Hey guys, first off, great job, everyone. You guys did great work. This is mainly for Seb. What were some stuff that you learned from your time as producer on like other projects that you carried over into Missing?
Oh man, thank you. That's a great question. So I've been fortunate to produce a bunch of other movies outside of Searching and Missing. I was a producer on Judas and the Black Messiah. I was a producer on Creed 3, which is coming out March 3rd. But obviously, watch this movie first. This comes out January 20th. I've been lucky enough to start working on like even really bigger projects, like some Marvel stuff I'm working on. I worked on Space Jam, and I have honestly the thing that I've learned the most is somewhat of the validation and like tying it back to the previous question that it doesn't matter how big the budget gets or how plentiful the resources get, the most important resource you're ever gonna have is the right team. And if that team is committed to the same vision and collaborating with each other and again, like aiming for trying to tell a cool story that's interesting and all the beautiful words that Storm listed, genuinely, I mean this truly candidly, that is what matters. So to me, I brought a lot of gratitude to this team on this film. Thank you.
All right, I'm going across this way. Back there in the gray shirt glasses? Gray?
Hi, big fan of everybody here. My question is mainly to the writers and the directors. So the directors first. When you were editing Searching, was there anything creatively that you thought, oh, if I was directing this, I would do this differently, that you got to do in this film?
Oh man, I wish I
Careful.
could remember some of them.
I think we had always wanted to do that Edgar Wright sort of like flashy editing, and we just couldn't find a place for it. First of all, John chose kind of like this more cumbersome mouse. It's a very different style of animation, but I think that's one thing that we were really excited about. And when we got the treatment, we were like, yes, it's a young protagonist. That we were like, yeah, we're gonna get some Edgar Wright style sort of stuff in there. So that was one thing.
I was a ruthless critic as an editor, and then trying directing it by myself was
Humbling.
a humbling experience. I was like, Aneesh, can't you just make them do a good take? Turns out it's harder than that.
I love the "Let's Go Missing," the title when it comes out. That was amazing.
Yeah. We did use some After Effects ourselves.
All right, let's go right below there. Red and gray shirt. I don't know if I could see colors anymore. That's gray.
It's great. I love the movies. I love Searching, love love Missing. And really the twist is what kind of keeps me coming back. I'm always trying to figure it out and I never figure it out. And so my question was, I like when the twist is happening, you like give us time to figure out what it is by like zooming in slowly. Like how do you decide how much time to give? Because you obviously you don't want to undermine us and think that we take too long to do it, but you also want to make sure you give us enough time to figure it out because there's a lot of things going on, especially in this one.
That's a great question. Natalie, you want to talk about our testing process?
Yeah, I was going to say a big part of our process as a team is getting feedback. So we'll work on the project for a bit and then we'll put it in front of an audience because that's really the only way to feel it out. Because we'll sit in the room and like beat each other up, like take 2 frames off. No, it's too long, it's too short. It gets really heated in there. But until we put it in front of an audience, you can't tell. And you can usually feel it in the room if it's too short or too long. So we rely on you guys.
So like there's this thing that Nat does where she goes like, who saw that moment? Like raise your hands. Or like who didn't see that moment? And we're always trying to find that like right calibration of like just enough people who saw it and then a couple of people who didn't, and that's when you kind of know.
For example, when he asked about the title SRCH, that was a perfect
come on,
example.
man.
Yeah.
No hands.
You guys don't
this
trust
is
that
a
movie.
test
This
screening,
is
that'll be
man.
good.
Yeah.
Could still be a hashtag.
That's true.
China? I don't know. I think we could take, oh God, there's so many questions. Let's do 2 more. Well, this is so overwhelming. I just looked you right in the eye. I have to. Here, wait. I'm going to give you my microphone.
Thank you. All of you, it was a great film, and I also saw Searching. It was great. My question is for Storm. It's 2 acting questions. The first was, what did you and Nia Long do to develop like the mother-daughter bond, you know, that strong bond between each other and portray that on the screen?
I mean, it was amazing getting to work with Miss Nia. And even though we didn't get to share a lot of scenes together in the film, the time that we did get to spend together, it was just us, and we had a lot of time to spend together. And I think it's just really about creating a rapport and a bond as much as possible. And I think it helps when you work with like-minded, nice people. And this whole team, I feel like, felt comfortable around each other. It became like a little family. So it wasn't hard to create that rapport on and off camera with Miss Nia. So I'm grateful for that.
So we're going to take 1 more question and then go to the giveaway. I'm going right in.
Hi. That was a great movie. I just want to say that first. You guys use a variety of apps like Messenger, Facebook, Instagram. I was wondering if you guys ever considered using other apps but didn't make it into the movie? Like Be Real or Twitter, like those?
We threw out Be Real recently, but I think
It's
we were out of
barely
time.
in there.
Yeah.
It's on our home screen.
One of the frustrating things about making a movie like this is it's so slow, and the internet and technology changes rapidly out from under you. So you're constantly kind of chasing things. But just to give you one example, Zoom doesn't really make an appearance, and that was around when we were writing. And what we found was we had a whole scene, if you remember, on Zoom where June's kind of hanging out with her friends. And what we found was when we came up on this, it was early on in the movie, it almost gave the movie, it made it feel just by association that it was a pandemic movie in some ways, just because we associated with that. And it cheapened the movie in some ways and kind of So that's one example of something that we killed, actually. Anything else that comes to mind? I don't know.
Be real, you have to kind of pick a date in the future that this movie takes place in. You know, so if we started working on, hypothetically, Finding, you know, right now we'd have to be like, okay, it's going to take place in August of 2025. And then you design the film, and then on August of 2025, you kind of just like look at the internet and are like, oh shit, okay, what's new? What did we not expect? Be Real was one of those things that just came too late, but technically it would have been there.
We
right?
did throw Be Real up on her phone.
Okay,
home
thank
screen,
God. We have Be Real.
Yeah, it's in there
so we got it in there.
barely.
We got it in there.
And we'll make sure for the next one to go ahead and write in the societal collapse in advance.
Basically like making a period movie, even though it's very modern, because like
advance.
literally, yeah, in advance, because everything just goes out of date while we're working on it.
I just remember I remember there was a day I walked into the edit office and everyone was devastated. It was like the worst thing had ever happened. I was like, oh my God, like did we delete the movie? Like what happened? And the answer was that like iOS had updated its software and they have to go and redesign all the text and all this stuff, and it was pretty
Because
long.
if FaceTime changes and for some reason
Which it
the way
did.
it closes is on a different side of the screen or it's showing something else, like these guys have designed the entire movie so that the actors are looking and behaving in a certain way. If Apple goes up and just changes something on us, it's a painful
We had the
experience.
whole aspect ratio of
Yeah.
FaceTime changed, and we'd already shot it in an aspect ratio.
So it was vertical,
We managed to
and
make it
suddenly
work.
now it's horizontal, and now we have lights in the frame. We're like,
We had
oh
to
shit.
Photoshop out the lights.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, you guys were like indignant. You're like, what were they thinking, Apple? Like, what is this? We're like,
I think this actually
This
looks
surely
worse.
doesn't look good, right?
We complain about things changing, but then we get used to it in a flash. So if you don't reflect that, I can understand. We have 3 posters, signed posters, to give away. I have trivia questions here. I am relying on you all to tell me whoever's hand shoots up first with an answer. Okay. They're not very difficult. Now I wish they were, 'cause a lot of you seem to know what you're talking about. All right, the first question: who knows the names of the 2 stars of the movie Run?
Let's go!
Well done. Well done.
So you can stay there right now. Make sure you come find me over here after we're done, and I'll get you a poster.
Dude,
So
that was
one-
awesome.
One poster.
Well done.
Hell yeah.
All right. In the movie Searching, there's a reference to another screen thriller, another screen life movie. What movie is that? I love this movie. Yes. Yes, it's Unfriended.
Unfriended, yes.
Nice.
We got 2. All right, there's one more left. Name another really cool movie that you'll be able to see Storm in this year. Movie. Who saw a hand? I saw lots of hands.
One went up there, but I can't.
Yeah, like right at the top, right there, right? But the
Whoever
hand went
says
away. Say it. No.
Show.
TV
A
show.
movie. It's a big movie. Really big movie.
No, you just said that. You just said that.
This is killing me.
Oh, we got it.
Movie?
You already won.
Oh.
Oh.
Hey.
Did you look it up? We have,
Quick Google.
you win. You guys, thank you all so much for
Thank
being
you,
here.
guys.
Another
Thank you, guys.
round of applause to the team behind
Thank you.
Missing.
Thank you.